Show.
Welcome to the Desha Show. About 8 months ago, I auditioned for Oprah Winfrey's contest to have your own TV show. And I didn't win, but that's okay because what I learned was that it was really fun and I really want to have my own show. So trying to decide what I wanted to do, I thought, what do I love? And I love beauty and fashion and art, and I really love inspirational stories. So this first episode is about the sweet spot. It's about Suzanne Kingsbury and how she's an accomplished author and how she's living her dream, and she's in her sweet spot. So I hope you enjoy it. This is Desha Peacock, and this is the first episode of the Desha Show, and I'm sitting here with Suzanne Kingsbury. I'm so glad to be here, and we're in her salon. Is it your writing salon?
It is my writing salon.
And it's, as you can see, it's beautiful. And I'm so happy to be sitting here with you. So I picked Suzanne because I think that she represents the sweet spot. The sweet spot is really when you feel like you are living your life with rich meaning, and that you are living the life you're supposed to, your higher purpose. I call it the higher purpose. I'm always questioning myself, what am I supposed to be doing here on earth? How can I best utilize the talents and skills that I've been given on this earth to help myself, but also other people? So somebody might say you're living your dream. You're living your dream and you're happy in it. That, to me, that's the sweet spot. So Suzanne, you are a multi-talented woman. You are author of 2 books. You are a writer, an editor. You've traveled all over the world. Tell me, do you feel like you are living in your sweet spot?
Yes, I feel definitely that I'm living in my sweet spot. I feel really lucky, actually. But I think there's a lot of intention in terms of, sort of when we look at other people's lives, there's a sense of like, oh, she was really lucky, or, things sort of fell into her lap, but when I think back to even, things like the Fulbright Scholarship or the book, the first book, which have launched my career, or, just pretty much everything, there was a real intention to, there's a lot of planning and sort of asking myself what I wanted, and a lot of, Julia Cameron always says, pray hard for what you want, but then run as fast as you can to get it. It's sort of like when I look back on my life, there was a lot of that, a lot of work. A lot of work goes into getting what you want. And then it's beautiful. I mean, the work is beautiful too, the journey's beautiful too, but it definitely wasn't just sort of I sat in my sweet spot all my life and here I am. I didn't know I wanted to be a writer. I went and got my astrological chart done at one point, and the woman said, you have the finger of God in your chart and it's around writing. And your whole life is going to be around writing. And at that point, I was really into, I was in my early 20s, I was really into exploration and adventure and finding out, like, what is this world that we're in? I was traveling all the time, and I didn't want to be a writer. I thought it was really lonely and boring. I mean, I love books. I've always loved books. I'm a voracious reader, but I didn't want to sit and I wanted to dance. I wanted to do choreography. And I kept asking her, like, are you sure I'm a writer? I mean, even though I'd always loved to write. And then, as sort of fate would have it, I wound up going to this writing workshop and like falling in love with writing. I mean, it wasn't even just falling in love. It was like a compulsion to write. I couldn't stop writing, and I felt my joy when I wrote, and so then I began sort of realizing that I needed to make plans in order that I could, quit my job for a year and just write, get a little cabin somewhere in the woods and just see if I could do it.
I read online that in 1999 you decided to quit your job and break your lease and move to Oxford, Mississippi. Tell me about that time in your life and what led to that decision.
Well, I just turned 30, and at my 30th birthday party, someone said to me, now you only do what you love. Now you only make choices, about what you love. So no duty anymore. And it really, it was just sort of a funny thing to say, but it really struck me, and I decided to make it my goal to only do what I loved. And that included getting rid of a lot of things in my life. For one thing, my job. And in a way, you know, my relationship was wonderful, but it wasn't what I wanted at the time. And I wanted to see the world, you know, I wanted to see, like, could I make this thing happen? I had just written this novel. It was a rough draft. It was definitely in Mississippi. I couldn't make it anywhere else. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go find my characters, drink some moonshine, and hang out on some porches and listen to some stories and see the cotton fields, and then just went from there. I remember being on the road there, and my car was just like chock full of stuff, and I had these Vermont plates, and I think I was like in South Carolina or something. I was at a gas station, and this sort of beautiful black man came up to me, and he goes, you know what, I want to be you when I grow up. And I was like, okay, I know I'm on the right path now. It was risky, but it was also one of those things that it was like, I can't sit here, you know, I can't sit here all my life. I gotta just go and do. I gotta make a change and see what's out there. And it wasn't even really about the writing, although I was in love with the writing, and, you know, I really wanted to discover this book and see if I could sell it. But it was sort of like, I'm 30, I don't have a house, I don't have a lover. I mean, yeah, I collected them along the way, but at that point I didn't have a lover. So I just felt like, you know, it's time. And I saved. I mean, from the moment I went to that workshop and I fell in love with writing, was addicted to it, I saved and saved for that year. It wasn't like I started writing, I fell in love with it, and I quit my job. It was like, I sort of knew at that point that I was a good writer. I mean, good enough to do something with it, you know, maybe. But it wasn't as if I was just sort of writing bad stories in the first 2 weeks that I fell in love with writing and I quit my job. And I think that's a big thing too, is sort of, you know, okay, you have this idea that you want to quit your job, but, you know, is this actually something that's going to sustain you over 7 years, or are you going to lose interest and want to do massage instead, which is fine.
Yeah.
You know, but for me, that's what I've noticed in my life is, like, even with my husband, you know, like, I couldn't stop thinking about the guy for 10 years, and I thought, all right, well, it's sustaining itself. You know what I mean? I might as well get married. So maybe that's part of it. I don't know what sustains us, you know.
Can you tell me how it felt to have your first novel published?
Well, this is probably going to surprise you, and it's probably not the answer most people want, but it didn't feel that good, actually. It was uncomfortable to me because my intention for that year was to be free, to follow these characters, to live in my imagination, to find out what the South was like, to drink moonshine, you know, to hang out dancing at midnight in a cotton field. And when I sold the book, it was like I was back in this, you know, limited, structured world of publishing and deadlines and, like, book tour, and people were talking very fast, and I just felt that all of a sudden it was getting taken away from me. You know, that freedom, that feeling of bliss that I had when I wrote was suddenly had become this marketable. So people, you know, really liked that idea of getting a book published. And in fact, for me, it was the first time in my life that I'd ever been depressed. I went back down to Mississippi, and I basically holed up in my friend Johnny Little's house. He'd never asked questions. He was this old Mississippi guy that I lived in his guest room. And I just, like, read, and I was confused, and this is my goal, and doesn't feel good, and trying to get back to the sweet spot, really. You know? I realized when I was doing book tour, I would be standing up there reading my books, and people would be asking me, you know, as if I was an expert. You know, and really, what did I do? I just love to write, and so I sat down and wrote a novel, you know. And so I felt this disconnect between me and the audience. I wanted to get down there with them and be like, well, who are you? Where do you come from? What do you like to read? And, you know, what's your bliss? And that's when I started these salons. These started to work with people and do that for them. You know, they always say that, like, if you want something, to receive something, which is, I wanted to receive the feeling again of bliss, then give it, you know, and you will eventually get back to what you want. You'll receive what you want. So I started to give that to people. You know, I started to do workshops where we just enjoyed the work. And nobody could say anything, you know, negative. We just wrote as furiously as we could, and then we read it, and then we would tell each other what we loved. And I did this for kids, and I do it now for adults. And I also started working one-on-one with adults and helping them finish their book, focusing on the positive? What works in their novel? What's the vision? What was the intention when they first started to write it? And I found that I was very good at it, you know, and the book started selling. People started getting contracts. I wasn't working alone, which was big, and I had a community. So, yeah, so that's what I did.
I love that. Realize that you weren't feeling good, that you had to go back and say, now, how can I feel good again? And it's through a gift of work, of sharing other people's work, helping other people in a way that can really benefit them and you.
Yeah.
And I just love that.
Yeah. It's almost like the Spirit like came through me because I was willing to do that. And so when I work one-on-one, it's this alchemy. I mean, it's an incredible bond that I have with these people that I'm working with that I never could have imagined. And it's in a way a lot more gratifying than working on my own.
Suzanne, any advice that you want to give for people who want to follow their dreams and slide into their sweet spot?
Oh God, well, I just think go for it. And I think the main thing is like the universe works on an interesting, you know, timeline. Like we sort of have this idea that it's going to happen right away as soon as we get the sort of motivation, but it takes a little time. You know, it's like she said, sort of pray to catch the bus and then run as fast as you can to get it, and you know, make your plans. Have that beautiful fantasy. I mean, if you have the fantasy, it's going to come true if you keep the intention sort of as your focus point. But allow for yourself to make sacrifices for it, and think of it. I mean, I would think of my writing as really like a relationship. Like, oh, I sacrifice for my writing because I love it. You know, I might not get health insurance, but I get so many other things from it. So thinking of your goal or your intention or your, you know, going towards that sweet spot as sort of a relationship with what are you giving to it, you know? If you want bliss, if you want the sweet spot to come to you again, how can you give to receive it, and that sort of thing. But I just think when fantasies enter your head, then that's where you're going to. You know, that's what they are. They're not just dreams. They're actually points that you're about to get to if you really want to. And also live in the now. Yeah. Have the intention, spend 5 or 10 minutes in your dream world of where you're going, and then be in the now. What's great about the now? What can I do to get to that point?
Yeah, what's the first step that I can take?
That's right now. Like you're doing with your show.
Something that I can do right now to put the energy out there and then let it go and see what happens.
That's right.
Because if you just keep it inside, it's not going to grow.
That's right.
You have to put something out there and then let it go and see what happens.
That's exactly right. And never worry. I don't think you should worry about whether you're going to get to this fantasy place, this goal, this whatever that popped into your head. Just throw it out like a boomerang to the universe, and every time you worry, just think, oh yeah, I'm already there. I'm already going to be there.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Where can we find out more about you? And do you have a website?
I do have a website. It's www.SuzanneKingsbury.com, or you can look me up under my first book, The Summer Fletcher Greer Loved Me, or under my second book, The Gospel According to Gracie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's so great. And good luck with your show. I think it's amazing. I think you might be an Oprah in the making, but better.
Thank you. I'll take that.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so Suzanne, I met you at Natalie Blake's New Year's Eve party just a few months ago, and I noticed you kind of in the corner of my eye, and you were reading palms. And I'm wondering if you could read my palm.
I would be happy to read the palm.
Which palm?
Never done it on TV before. Well, I'll start out looking at both of them.
Okay.
But anyway, I have my way of reading it, so we'll see.
Okay. This is really cool. Everybody should do this.
The reason you were put onto Earth is exactly what you're doing right now. Yeah.
So I'm kind of doing what I'm supposed to be doing,
You
like what
are.
I was born to do.
Yep.
Boy, I've been trying to figure that out for a while.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, that's great.